Foxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Aloha mai kako, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Moana Nui Podcast. My name is Moana, and I will be your host briefly tonight. We are bringing to you our Kupu'ola podcast, and we'll be joined by Kuaiwi and Keoki tonight. It's great to be with you all. You know, Dana is not with us today. She's feeling a bit under the weather, so we hope you get better soon, Dana. It's January. I cannot believe we're already in the middle of January of 2025. I thought we was just, like in fall of 24. Time is flying. I don't know where it goes, but I hope your year is off to a good start. This year, we're going to continue our partnership with Papaʻolelo Kahi. And tonight is one of our quarterly segments that we are really proud to bring to you all. Some great information, great ike, great storytelling. And our guest tonight, Keoki, is also from the island of Kauai. So Kauai no Ka'oi in the house. Always happy to see, my fellow Kanaka and people from my island. So let me just stop, like running my mouth, but let me bring bring on our guest tonight. As I mentioned, Kuaiwi Makua, she's representing Mauliola Malama within Papaʻolelo Kahi, and of course our guest speaker, Keoki. Welcome you to
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah. And it's one moment just to let you know that it's Hale Ho'onawa. That's
Oh,
the Hale
sorry,
that I'm
Kalamai.
representing.
I'm gonna edit that part out.
Okay, no worries. There's kind of a lot of us.
Yes, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Um, I'm happy to be here and mahalo nui for that introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so nervous. Um, but I guess we should just dive right in.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Okay. Um, all right. Mahalo Kumukioki for being here. Yeah, sorry. Before we start, I just want to say a quick message about our podcast. So, welcome everybody to the Kupu'ola Growing Culture and Nurturing Health podcast, where we dive into the deep connections between culture and health in the Native Hawaiian community. Join us as we talk story with culture practitioners, healers, and health professionals like Kumukioki, exploring how Hawaiian culture and values guide our work and shape our lives. Through these conversations, we aim to uplift, educate, and inspire. Hopefully, so by honoring the ike or the knowledge of our kupuna while navigating the challenges and success of maintaining cultural identity, wellness, and connection. So please tune in and join the journey towards health rooted in culture, wisdom, and aloha. Uh, yes. Mahalo nui again. So with that being said, um, I want to start off our talk. Our talk with a thought of the day. This is a practice that was passed down to me by Kumukioki when I was learning from him at the university, which is a practice that he learned and was taught from by his kumu Lavan Ohai, which I'm hoping you all can incorporate into your daily lives and activities. So wait, before we begin though, Discover, did you have anything you want to just share? I was just gonna go straight in, but like I should probably let you
No,
say
that's my
something before.
thing. Yeah, go right
Okay.
ahead. Every day. Yeah, that's an important way to start. The way
Okay, yes. Yes. So let's go in with our thought of the day. Um, so the thought of the day that I want to highlight for all of us today is a Hawaiian proverb or an olelo no eau, saying "Loa'a ke ola I halau a ola," which roughly translates into life is obtained in the house of life. And the more poetic translation of this is one is happy, safe, and well again. There's a play on the word ola, which means life, health, healing. contentment and peace after a struggle. And I decided that I wanted to share this particular Olelo No'eau because it reminded me of my personal journey with Kumu Keoki as my kumu, you know. um, so as you guys can guess, Kumu Keoki is my teacher and mentor. We've known each other for a little over 10 years now. That's kind of a long time, Kumu. Uh,
Yeah, a long time.
yes. All right. Yes. 10 years is a long time. Um, just kind of like do a short recap and how this relates to um, our Olelo No'eau is um, I met Kumu Keoki my freshman year at university. That was during the time where I was studying kinesiology. I was actually hoping to get into a physical therapy program and then eventually become a physical therapist. But things change, people change. For me personally, the person who had influenced me down that path was my uncle Shane, and that was yeah. So I'm just trying to think. So he was going through some health issues back in 2016, and that was kind of during the time that I decided to be a better student to Kumukyoki and taking all your lessons, taking everything I could because I wanted to help my uncle. Um, but as you know, and unfortunately, I won't get into the details, he passed away in 2018. And during that time, I had to do a lot of self reflection, having to deal with grief of losing a family member that I love, and also coming to the conclusion and realization that like I wasn't during my path to becoming a physical therapist was something that I did because it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do, but it's something I felt like was an obligation.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, getting all sappy and emotional. But I need to say this because my journey through navigating my grief, as it's still there. I'm still dealing with it, but dealing with my grief of my family member, but also dealing with figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And then I realized that I've always held an interest with Lāʻau Lapaʻau, and I was really grateful for all the teachings that I had with you, Kumu. And um, the teachings that I have and continue to learn with you. And it was during that time that I decided to um, change and not go down that path from physical therapy, but I did end up pursuing public health, and I got my master's degree in it. And oh, thank you. Somebody brought me tissues, but it's okay. Um, hi, sorry. Uh, everybody's trying to distract me, but it's okay. So, kind of going back to what I was saying was, it was kind of a long journey for me to deal with my grief and figuring out everything. But it literally took me going on to my own journey, and then also um, having you, Kumu, as um, my guidance. And I'm very grateful to you, and I'm very grateful that you gave me the opportunity to um, pursue Lāʻau Lapaʻau once you asked me to join your official halau back in 2019. And I'm grateful to be in your halau ever since. And kind of going back to that Olelo No'eau of, you know, um, life life is obtained to the house of life. And so it literally took all of that and then also halal to help me on this path to healing myself and healing and this healing journey that I'm on with you in Lao. That was kind of hard to say, and I apologize that it took me a little bit. It was a little bit rough, but like I told you, I was gonna get a little sappy early on. But with that being said, Kumu, did you have anything that you want to say in terms of how you're feeling about this particular thought of the day?
Oh, I love this Olelo No'eau that you have. It's one of those things that um, you remind you of where you can find life. Halawa ola. A halau is, as many of you know, like halau hula. There's halau va'a, halau Lāʻau Lapaʻau, and there's halau ola. One ʻōlelo noʻiao that comes to mind from our kupuna is this quote. It is called Aya ke ola I kahiki. Life is found in kahiki. And the reason why it's in kahiki is because our ancestors believed that the gods or all spiritual guidance comes from kahiki. And there are many stories about kahiki being a place of spiritual power, spiritual guidance. And the guidance continues today, drawing on our spiritual foundation to help us move forward in the present time. So we learn from the past to navigate the future to a place of health and wellness and balance in today's time. So yeah, I like that quote. Mahalo.
Yeah, it's an important one. And it always reminds me of, like you said, where I was at and where I'm going now. And so, mahalo for your mana'o. I always get nervous and super emotional about these things, but
Well, that's a good thing, because that's the connection between what is meaningful to you, what you value, and what you're not always telling you in the moment.
yeah. Oof. Mahalo kumu. But to transition into the main juicy bits of today, because it's not about me, it's about you.
No.
Yes, I'm gonna shift gears now, focusing on you, Kumu. You have no choice.
Okay.
Yes, and so I know me and you, we talk a lot about Lāʻau Lapaʻau, what it means to us, and everything like that. But I want us to kind of talk a little bit more about, or for you, if you could explain what Lāʻau Lapaʻau is and why it is important within Hawaiian healing traditions, or within whatever context that you're wanting to share with us.
Okay. What is Lāʻau Lapaʻau? First of all, Lāʻau Lapaʻau is basically two words. Lāʻau meaning plant, and Lapaʻau meaning medicine. So Lāʻau Lapaʻau as a practice is an art that our ancestors have developed and brought here to Hawaii over time, through their practice of Lāʻau Lapaʻau. They are able to determine what plants work, which plants don't. Yeah. So a kahuna Lāʻau Lapaʻau, began his training at a very early age in the house of an elder expert in the field. And perhaps it was his father, or maybe another man, or another kupuna. Those learning Lāʻau Lapaʻau were usually those youth that had good character, strong morals, and they were carefully selected. It wasn't just anybody. So the person, as they grew up, received comprehensive instruction about all the medicinal plants, their values and effect on the body, where the plants grew, how to gather them, prepare and administer them. They were chosen because of their aptitude and their kind temperament, and their training was sometimes held in formal places specifically dedicated to Lāʻau Lapaʻau or to healing. Usually this was at a heiau. One example of this is heiau o Keaiwa at Aiea Heights here on Oahu. Another place is Honokane at Ka'u on the island of Hawaii. And these were sites of early medical schools. So it's believed that the heiau Keaiwa was built during the time of Kakuhihewa, the famous ali'i of Oahu. And the name Keaiwa literally translates as the mystery. Hi. So Lāʻau Lapaʻau, as a practice, involved the transmission of traditional knowledge from person to person, from elder to student. And this was something that continues on to today. Koivi and I are a perfect example of sharing ike, right, with haumana. And then I learned from my ohana, my tutu Emiliki Kahakualu, and my uncles and my auntie, Auntie Eva, and also learned from Levano High. So there's 3 generations already right here in this room. Yeah. So Levano High is with us as we're talking and as we're speaking. Yeah. So Lāʻau Lapaʻau continues today, it's healthy and well. And as we talk more during our conversation here, we'll share with everybody what what Lāʻau Lapaʻau is up to.
Yeah, actually, thank you for talking about your ohana and your kumu. My next question was actually going to ask you, like, how you got into the path of Lāʻau Lapaʻau. But it seems to me that it's because of what you've been taught by your ohana. But I can't speak for you. I won't speak for you. So please, can you share a little bit about your personal moʻolelo?
Yeah. My foundation of Lāʻau Lapaʻau starts with my family, with my ohana. And so as they shared ike and knowledge with me over time, time moves on and our kupuna pass away. We end up finding other teachers, or a kua puts another teacher in their place. And so that for me, that was Levano High in 2006. So my ohana was my foundation, a kua was my foundation in learning. And then it was almost like going to a graduate program, advancing to the graduate program with Levano High, because he had so much ike and so much knowledge that was priceless, So today I meld those 2 worlds of Lāʻau Lapaʻau knowledge together and teach it to haumana, to students, the best way that I know how, and in the best context that is available. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So funny. So kind of just to transition into that that path into the university, can you share with us a little bit about how you got into that with teaching at the university?
Okay, sure. I think I want to first go way back I want to go back.
Okay.
To January 17th, 1893.
Oh, that's back. That's really back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, January 17th, 1893 was a turning point for Lāʻau Lapaʻau, for hula, for Hoiva'a, for everything. This is actually the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that event plays a huge role in Lāʻau Lapaʻau actually coming to the university. So if for some of you who don't know what happened on January 17th, today's the anniversary, January 17th, it was the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. It was a coup d'etat against Queen Liliuokalani that took place during that time, led by the Committee of Safety, as they call it, composed of 7 foreign residents, 5 Americans, 1 Scotsman, 1 German, and 6 Hawaiian Kingdom subjects of American descent in Honolulu. And they were successful in overthrowing the Hawaiian Kingdom. Fast forward, as a result of the overthrow, that one act alone influenced forced underground practices such as Lāʻau Lapaʻau, hula, traditional knowledge, anything that had to do with cultural identity. And so it was such a unfortunate event, but also a very powerful one that influenced us all the way till today. So I bring that up because by the time Hawaii becomes a territory and then becomes a state, Lāʻau Lapaʻau is trickling down to just a very few families that practiced it. So along comes the Ojai family, and this is the Ojai family practiced Lāʻau Lapaʻau, continue to practice in Kapa'a, Kauai, and their eldest grandson, Levanohai, was born. Being the eldest grandson, you are chosen to learn ike and to learn knowledge. And he was taught by his grandfather, Benamima. His father, Leo, also knew some Lāʻau Lapaʻau too. He was a fisherman. And Leo's father, Benamima, or Benjamin, is the one that taught Levanohai everything that he knows. So Levanohai was taught since he was the age of 5 or so. So if you have nephews and nieces that are the age of 5, you can imagine how to teach. You can imagine how you would teach them, and this continues to go on all the way until his 20s. So he learned for a very long time from his kupuna. Fast forward, Levanohai, his grandfather passes away, but he continues that legacy of teaching Lāʻau Lapaʻau in the community. From the community, he moves to the university in 1998, 99, and then introduces the Lāʻau Lapaʻau classes. Just 7 years later, I come into the picture in 2006, after getting out of a stint of being in the Marine Corps. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and but I had come back to school because I wanted to come back home, come back to my culture, come back to my roots, come back to my values, come back to my people, come back to my aina, and come back to my language. And funny thing is, I ran into Levanohai in the airport, and he tells me, "Hey, come to the university. I'm teaching Lāʻau Lapaʻau classes. Come to my class." And so I decided to do that. And ever since then, I never left his side. So my journey to coming to the university is as a result of multiple events, from the overthrow to Levanohai's choices and decisions to teach in the university, to me, leaving home just to come back home with more dedication, more love, and more resolve from my people than ever before. And Lāʻau Lapaʻau was both healing for me to learn as a veteran. It was healing to learn Lāʻau Lapaʻau and to practice it, because I needed healing as much as the people that I worked with needed healing. And so it gave me an opportunity to progress in my practice of Lāʻau Lapaʻau, as Lewanohai taught me, as my ohana taught me. Ohai passes away in 2012, March 2012. So after his passing, I was teaching since 2009 with him, teaching Lāʻau Lapaʻau at the university since 2009. But 2012, he passes away, and the kuleana fell on me to teach the rest of his Lāʻau Lapaʻau classes. And that included Introduction to Hawaiian Medicinal Herbs, Advanced Medicinal Herbs, Mahi Lāʻau Lapaʻau, which is medicinal gardening, aquatic medicine. So this journey of coming here and finding myself in this point in time is so I'm just full of gratitude for the journey, and I'm grateful to be here, at this time, to be able to continue the legacy of Lāʻau Lapaʻau as our kupuna wanted. Sorry, that was a long way around to answer your question.
I mean, did you see me when I was doing that? Thought of the day. Honestly, I would rather listen to you than listen to myself. So cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much for giving us a little bit more of a timeline and some insight as to your personal journey when it comes to teaching, because you were all set on that learning, and then that's your teaching and you're currently still teaching at the university. Didn't classes just recently start?
Sure did. It started this past Monday.
Right on. I hope the semester is going to be great for you. I already know. So
Yeah, I'm excited for the semester.
yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Could you take a little time to go over some of the key principles of your fundamental teachings in Lāʻau that you teach your haumana at the university, or just whoever. But I just think it would be cool that if you talk a little bit about it.
No problem. I feel like that humility, ha'a, humility is one of the most important aspects of being a healer. Humility helps you to see how much you know and how much you don't know. Humility keeps your mind open, keeps your na'au open to learning. Humility recognizes that there is a power greater than you, and that power, akua, God, the ancestors, are able to impart their guidance and their wisdom. Ha'a. I love the word ha'a because it is actually a hula movement if you break down the word to just ha'a or aiha'a. So that means to lower yourself, bend your knees, lower yourself, aiha'a. And when you aiha'a, you are making yourself actually ready to do the hula motion. Ha'a puts you in a ready position, humility, to actually engage in the work of Lāʻau Lapaʻau, of healing. Yeah. So to me, ha'a is imperative for every practitioner. You cannot move forward if you have pride. Pride will steal your opportunities from you. opportunities to learn and to grow. So I ha'aha'a. Aloha, compassion is the next important quality, I believe, for myself. That is also imperative to have inside of your life. Aloha, compassion, allows you to be empathetic, show empathy toward other people. Without empathy, you're just a robot, you know. But with empathy, with aloha, it teaches you to reach out beyond yourself to the individual and help them in whatever way you can. I believe aloha sets the stage of a person's heart so that they can receive guidance, understanding, wisdom on how to help other people. Compassion and aloha is something that we need for ourselves personally. And you don't have to live here in Hawaii to have aloha. You can be anywhere in the world, Germany, Iraq, United States, Canada, Thailand, wherever you are, you can practice aloha. You can practice compassion. You can show empathy toward other people. This is a fundamental attribute of the practitioner, of the healer. And we don't have to be practitioners like me. You can just be a person practicing aloha and compassion. And when you do that, you are practicing Lāʻau Lapaʻau.
That's deep.
I also believe that that when we keep ourselves humble and we have compassion, we show our true identity. Our true identity shines brightly in a way that attracts people to you. And so if you are a shining light, people will gravitate toward that light. If you are practicing aloha, people will gravitate toward the aloha. Naturally, there's aloha in them, and aloha will attract aloha. Positivity will attract positivity. Goodness will attract goodness. Empathy will attract empathy. Kindness will attract kindness. Gentleness will attract gentleness. Meekness will attract meekness. Goodness will attract goodness. This is Lāʻau Lapaʻau. These are some of the values that we practice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's too funny. Oh my goodness. Mahalo for that, Kumu. So those are important values, and you shoot. I'm just trying to think, how can I follow up with that? Yeah, I like when you teach, because you teach by telling stories. I was actually going to ask the next question I was going to ask you. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to follow up with that. But I was going to ask you about how you incorporate any special methods of teaching Lāʻau Lapaʻau to your hamana. And, I'm going to let you talk, but I would just want to say this first. For me, as a current and past student of yours, both in your actual halau and at the university, one of my favorite ways of learning from you, from your teaching methods, was your incorporation of moʻolelo. And I think we talk about this all the time, and like one of my favorite moʻolelos is like one of the very first ones that you ever teach about, which is the story of Lono Puha and Kamaka. Sorry, not Kamaka. I always get his name wrong. Help me, save me, Kuba. What is his name?
Puha.
Yeah, and is it Kamaka Nui? Kamaka
Yeah.
Nui Aha'i Lono? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I might be getting ahead of myself, but I just want to bring it up because I know that's a method of your teachings that I personally enjoy. And it's also a really important mo'olelo because from I think it was like not the first class that I took for me, but I think it was like maybe the second or third class you actually shared this particular mo'olelo because of its significance to the origins of Lāʻau Lapaʻau in Hawaii, and um, how in this particular mo'olelo um, there was this particular oh, sorry, I got distracted. Um, that there was this chief by the name of Lono, who lived on the island of Hawaii in Kau, and kind of going back to um, humility, that value, that thought of humility. This was not something that this particular chief would be described from what I remember. And the mo'olelo, and in that particular mo'olelo that you shared, if anything, he was very prideful. And just thinking about this particular mo'olelo and the origins of Lāʻau Lapaʻau, how not Kamaku. I don't keep wanting to say Kamakaku because you're at Kamakaku right now, and but it's Kamakanui Ahailono, and how he was a healer that traveled from Kahiki, which could technically be like Tahiti nowadays, but like Kahiki as in that far distant land, that he traveled here with his brothers and his ohana that were chiefs and everything like that, but he was the healer amongst all of them. And I remember that in this particular mo'olelo, he and his ohana had traveled from Ni'ihau down the chain until they landed in Hawaii. And um, he went and he um, met the chief Lono in passing, and everybody was in that particular area was very fond of Kamakanui Hailono, but not not to Chief Lono, and he became really jealous of that. And I remember in this particular story, he was out in the sun with his o'o stick digging. Was it in the kalo patches or the
Yeah. Calopets.
the kalo patch? Yeah, and and I remember that like when the chief Lono, when he was listening to the maka'ainana in the area talking about how wonderful this healer who had just kind of came into town, and he got really upset, and he, out of like jealousy or whatever have you, he decided that he wanted to hit his o'o stick into the ground, but he wasn't paying attention. He accidentally stabbed his foot, and that's sorry, I'm kind of pointing all this together to what you were saying earlier, because he thought, why is everybody paying attention to this guy? How come nobody's paying attention to me? Blah blah blah. That's how I kind of took it when I was learning from you, um, and it was from that particular incident that he now has to deal with the consequences of his actions by hurting himself. And like how you mentioned earlier that having that pride and not having that humility to like think about not yourself but you know about other things in the bigger picture of life. And so in the story, I'm kind of going all over the place, but I just want to finish the story so everybody is a little bit more aware if you guys don't know about this story. That the Amaka Ainana who was in the kalo patches with the chief Lono seen him injure himself, and then they eventually one of the Maka Ainana that was with him eventually leaves and goes to find Kamakanuya Ha'ilono. And in his particular going, he went and he gathered things that could be given as gifts for potential compensation, because he eventually went to go ask Kamakanuya Ha'ilono to go and help heal the chief Lono. And when the Maka'inana eventually goes and does his thing, go ask him, Kamakanuya Ha'ilono obviously says he agrees. and it's in there going back to the Chief Lono, that he goes and he gathers along the path as he's walking. He recognizes certain healing plants, and in this particular mo'olelo, the healing plant that he gathered from along the way there back to where Lono is the popolo plant, and it was the leaves of the popolo plant. And I don't remember if he did he chew it, Kumu? I think he chewed it on his way there to like make a poultice. Yeah. Yeah, he made a poultice with this with the leaves of the popolo plant, and um he went to go and help. He eventually goes and he assists in the healing of the Chief Lono. They cleaned it. He applied the poultice onto the into the open wound, and I believe it was like 40 days. He ends up spending his time healing and dedicating his time healing the Chief Lono. And during that time of him sitting with Lono, he goes and he teaches him what he needs to do to heal himself along the way. And also just he had a lot of life lessons to share with him. And within that short amount of time, it might have seemed kind of long, 40 days is kind of long. The Chief Lono becomes a whole different person. His perspective on life changes. And he decides that much like both of us, that he wanted to change in the direction that he wanted to do with his life. And he goes in when when Kamakanui Ha'ilono goes and tries to part ways with the Chief Lono, he actually leaves his area in Ka'u and makes his way over towards Puna side of Hawaii Island. And along his travel, he hears somebody following him, and it's Lono. And Kamakuku, not Kamakuku, sorry. I keep saying Kamakuku. Kamakanui Ha'ilono was like, what are you doing here? What's going on? Why aren't you with your people? Because you're supposed to, as an ali'i, as a chief, it is your responsibility, your kuleana, that you're born into, that it is your responsibility to take care of the people that you're malamaling for that particular aina. And Lono decides, he says, I gave up my kuleana. I am no longer chief. And that's really, really crazy, right? That's super crazy, because how are you going to give up kuleana that you inherited from birth?
Aye.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something that not a lot of people can do successfully. I can't really, in the story, you didn't really share the details of it, and to tell you the truth, for me, I was always curious about that. But I do recall from your sharing this mo'olelo with everybody in class, was that eventually Kamakanui Ha'ilono decides that oh, sorry, I kind of skipped a piece. So Lono decides that he's no longer chief, and that the reason why he is in pursuit of Kamakanui is because he is ultimately asking him if he could be a haumana or a student of his. And because he was so eager to learn the ways of healing that Kamakanui Ha'ilono had brought with him from Kahiki. And so eventually Kamakanui decides, okay, I will accept you as my haumana. And there was that exchange of mana that they had with each other through the sharing of, from, this is the part that always gets me, but Kamakanui Ha'ilono told Lono that he is no longer going to be known as Lono, but his name now is Lono Puha. And Puha is in reference to that ulcer that he had on his foot when he stabbed it. And so it's a reference of that time, the consequences of his actions, and the name that he has to bear from now on. But not necessarily just the consequences, but also the reminder of where he was from, what happened that led him to where he's at in his journey to Lāʻau. And another thing that Kamakanui Ha'ilono did was ask him to open his mouth and let him spit in it. And I was really like, oh my God, that's really gross. But Kumu, I remember when you're sharing this information with us, it is sacred because it was his way of sharing his mana as his kumu to him as his newfound haumana. And then through all of that, he decides to teach Lonopuha about Lāʻau along his journey all the way up the coast across the Pai'aina of, not Pai'aina, but like across the whole way of Hawaii Island. I forget, did they like travel? Huh?
Hamakua Coast.
The Hamakua. Okay, for some reason I thought it was like the whole one. But because he was in Ka'u, and then they eventually went to Puna, and then they went up to Hamakua, and then was it Waipio that they decided to land, right? Yeah. And so in Waipio, they decided that's where they were going to reside, and they ended up having this whole line eventually become a whole line of Lāʻau Lapaʻau healers for the moʻoku auhau. So that was long-winded, and I just needed to get off my chest because that was an important moʻolelo that I still keep with me until today. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I wanted to, now I remember. I was bringing this up because that was what I remember most about the teachings that you would that you would teach us in class about the importance of mo'olelo, and always reflecting on these mo'olelo because they tell us so much about the things that Lāʻau can do, and then also the reflections that we can take with us. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, or if you want.
The lessons are introspective.
Yeah.
They allow us to take mo'olelo, traditional knowledge, and apply them even in a modern context. The story of Lonopuha is a story about change, or huliau.
Mm-hmm.
If one person can change, then other people can change too.
Mm-hmm.
If one person was once prideful, they can become humble.
Mm-hmm.
And in that humility, ha'aha'a, they can grow. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
happened in the story of Kamakanui Ha'ilono and Lonopuha. Lonopuha was humble. He was humbled. Right? He was humbled. He had compassion. He had aloha. And that made him a great, willing, prepared student. He had to, unfortunately, get hurt. But that hurt, that eha, that pain, that puha that he experienced was necessary in order to bring about the healer in him. Yeah. So applying it to today, if we have life challenges too, if we have ailments or disease, learn from it, be humble, and be willing to go through the trials so that you can come out stronger as a person, more humble, more filled with aloha and compassion. Yeah, but I'm glad you brought up that mo'olelo. Thank you. It's an important part of Lāʻau Lapaʻau's storytelling, the story of Kamakanui Ha'ilono and Lonopuha. And then even their students who shared their students, Pahala and Puheke, who followed after, who introduced the purging, ho'onaha as we call it. So they introduced ho'onaha, purging, cleaning the na'au, making sure it's clean so that there is light within you, and it's not all filled and stuck kukai inside of you, as they say. Yeah. So it's making sure that you are healthy and well. Hi. Another part, I think, mo'olelo, that is good to bring up, because this is just a way moʻolelo is a way of bringing moʻolelo is a way of bringing knowledge into the learning experience. And there's one story of Maui capturing the sun, another moʻolelo, Maui capturing the sun. And in the story of Maui capturing the sun, it reveals to us the remedy for AIDS and HIV. So Maui travels up to Haleakala with braided rope that is made from his mother's hair, hina. And Maui's one intention is to slow down the sun, which has been traveling too fast in the sky. There's not enough daylight to dry kapa. There's not enough daylight to go fishing. There's not enough daylight for plants to grow. Not enough daylight to do chores or to do things for the livelihood of man. So Maui goes up with this braided rope of hair, and he gets instructions from his grandmother, who tells him, in order to slow down the sun, you need to cut off some of its arms. So with his ads, his ko'i, as they call it, he prepares to do that. She instructs him, his tutu instructs him that when he cuts off the arms of the sun, you will also need to tie down the arms of the sun. As you tie down the arms of the sun, as the sun comes over the edge of the rim of Haleakala, grab the arms of the sun, tie it to the vilivili tree. Vilivili in Hawaiian means intertwined or woven in a particular way, or to entangle. And so Maui does exactly that. He hides by the roots of the vilivili tree on one account. And as the arms of the sun come over, he lassos and he ties one arm and ties it to the vilivili tree. As another few arms comes over the edge of Haleakala crater, he ties those arms, ties it to the vilivili tree. And in so doing, he basically has all the arms of the sun tied up. He takes his ko'i and he starts to chop off some of the arms of the sun. The sun asks him to stop, and that with a promise that he won't run so quickly through the sky. And so Maui, in hearing that, lets the sun go, and that allows the world to have a summer and a winter. During the summer, the sun stays out longer. During the winter, the sun is allowed to go a little faster, leaving go a little faster, also inviting more rain to accompany that time and that season. But the importance of this moʻolelo, and it's one that we share in Lāʻau Lapaʻau, is that Maui and his grandmother pointed to us the remedy for HIV and AIDS, and it is the flower of the vilivili tree. Like Maui lassoing the sun and tying it to the vilivili tree, the flower of the vilivili tree ties down the vitamin D inside of the human body. It's difficult for people with HIV and AIDS to create vitamin D from the sun, and so the vilivili tree helps that to occur within the human body, and stave off the effects of HIV and AIDS. So that's one little treasure that moʻolelo brings. So the story of Kamakanui Haiʻilono, the story of Maui capturing the sun, and more are all little helpful ha'awina, or lessons that enable us to carry on the traditional recipes of our ancestors.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna try and speed it up a little bit. So I'm gonna ask you maybe one or two more questions about your journey in with educating, and then we can move on to what you do at Waimānalo Health Center.
Okay.
So, besides teaching at the university, how do you share your knowledge of Lāʻau Lapaʻau with others?
Living Lāʻau Lapaʻau is sharing.
Mm.
So no matter where I'm at, I'm trying to share Lāʻau Lapaʻau. I have horses and a donkey and some goats, so I use Lāʻau Lapaʻau on my animals, and I share that knowledge with my keiki. So instead of going to the vet, and we make our own medicine for our animals. So I share it within my family and my ohana. I try to live it. I share it with the community. So right now I teach a class called Ohakea. It is a continuation of a 3-year program called Evakea that was that's focus was perpetuating Lāʻau Lapaʻau in the community. And so it continues on today. So I teach in the community. How else do I share it? I agree to opportunities like this on the podcast to share Lāʻau Lapaʻau and just help it to continue. So
yeah. Thank you, Kumu.
Hi.
Okay, let's just dive straight into what you do at Waimānalo Health Center, shall we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. All right.
All right. Okay. So I teach at the University of Hawaii. I teach in the community, and I'm also a practitioner at Waimānalo Health Center. So I belong to the Kupuna Council of Traditional Healers that is associated with Waimānalo Health Center. And I practice in the Maʻiola Services Department at the center. So I think what I want to share about Waimānalo Health Center is the impact that Lāʻau Lapaʻau has on a Western Medical Health Center. So right now, Maʻiola Services at our service department uses traditional knowledge like lomi lomi, Lāʻau Lapaʻau. We have Papa Lāʻau Lapaʻau, which is Hawaiian medicine classes. We have a pain clinic called Ho'olu'olu Clinic. We have a licensed massage therapy program where we teach lomi lomi to the community. Certain students are admitted into this program, and they end up working as lomi lomi practitioners within the clinic. And we have a Mala Ho'ola medicinal garden where we use all of our knowledge to harvest medicinal plants to treat our community at the clinic. So Lāʻau Lapaʻau, lomi lomi, education, gardening are all part of our Maʻiola services. This is a picture of us working with a Western medical doctor. On the right is a doctor. His name is Dr. Evans. And this is JD sitting down on the patient table. And this is Lena Albright on the left. She's a Lomi Lāʻau Lapaʻau practitioner. She's a student of Levano High like I am. And what we find is that unlike other medical settings, we are integrating with primary care. As the doctors work with the patient, so do we. And we work together for the health and benefit of the patient, whatever the patient wants. If they want traditional medicine at the same time, then we're invited into the room and we integrate with doctors. How this works, this integration of Lomi and Lāʻau Lapaʻau, we have a joint visit where there's the provider, the doctor, and the cultural practitioner work together. So the patient isn't charged whenever our team works together with the provider. We have a warm handoff visit, which is a cultural practitioner comes into the visit after the provider. So after you see your doctor, then we come in. The patient isn't charged for our visits. And then we have a standalone visit where the provider refers the patient to moʻolelo services or to the cultural practitioner. And then the insurance pays for that visit, or they pay a sliding fee scale based on what they're able to afford to pay. So these are the three ways in which we integrate Lomi and Lāʻau Lapaʻau at Waimānalo Health Center. Currently, these are the three insurances that reimburse us for traditional healing. So we have United Healthcare, Quest, and Medicare reimbursing for any Lomi, Lāʻau Lapaʻau, Hula, or Aipono services. All right, so they're kind of leading the health insurance companies in regards to reimbursement for traditional practitioner services. This is monumental. 7 to 10 years ago, this wasn't heard of. It was just conversation inside of meeting rooms. But today, this is actually happening. Aloha Care Quest reimburses for Lomi and Aipono. Ohana Quest reimburses for Lomi and Lāʻau Lapaʻau. So the other insurances are looking into to following suit, but it's taking them a little longer. The program reach of moʻolelo services, we integrate on average, this is a 2022 average, but it continues to be the same even until 2024, 25. We average about 140 a month. In education, we're reaching at least 100. The Hanaya Plant Program, there's 26 to 30 a month. And student outreach, it's usually about 30 students a month that we're reaching. So this is the impact that we can anticipate from year to year with our current staff at Waimānalo Health Center. For Lomi, this traditional practice, we all learn Kapā Ola Hawaii, which includes pressure points, posture alignments, energy cleansing, and renewal. So these are things that you can anticipate that our techniques are going to be including these things whenever we do Lomi. The Anonia Kahi LMT workshop program is dedicated to practicing the pa'ola techniques within the healthcare system. So on average, we have about 30 to 45 minutes of working with a client. And in that average time with the techniques of Pa'ola and the Anonia Kahi program in which we teach all of these things, we're able to bring about a healing and a healing for the individual, for the patient. Okay. This pilot program, Anonia Kahi, seeks to license Lomi Lomi practitioners. So Lomi Lomi practitioners, most Lomi Lomi practitioners aren't licensed massage therapists. So we're taking Lomi Lomi practitioners that have some experience already and giving them a LMT education. So the first program started went from June to December 2023, and then the LMT workshop from January to December 2024, which just finished. The apprenticeship, we, because I'm a part of that program, completed 50 hours of anatomy, physiology, and structural kinesiology, 100 hours theory and demonstration of massage, and then 320 hours of apprenticeship. So the important aspect of all of this is the involvement and the dedication and the energy that the haumana, that the students put into being practitioners, Lomi Lomi practitioners, and building the capacity of the cultural workforce at Waimānalo Health Center. A part of the training program, I was in being a student, I'm also a teacher in Anonia Kahi. I taught the anatomia, or Hawaiian anatomy, to the students. So as much as they are learning the Latin names of the physical part of the body, they are also learning the Hawaiian names. Our ancestors had Hawaiian names for the bones, for the organs, for the different parts of the body. And so we're bringing all of that into Anonia Kahi, into the Lomi Lomi program. For the Lāʻau Lapaʻau portion, we focus a lot on the laws of Olakino. The laws of Olakino is basically, as it says, bringing our lifestyle into alignment with natural and spiritual pillars of health. So these natural and spiritual pillars of health are moi, sleep, aipono, food as medicine, hoʻikaika kino, exercise, hoʻomaʻemaʻe, cleansing, noʻonoʻopono, proper meditation, manaʻonaʻo, pondering, and pule, prayer. And there are two other teachings that I share. These first 7 are taught by Kahuna Levano Hai, and these other 2 that I didn't list in the PowerPoint are also important. It is Pilina, which means relationships, your relationship with yourself, relationship with your ohana, with your spouse, your loved ones, relationship with Akua, with the Aina. So Pilina is important. And then the last one is Kumu Mole Ikeola, your life purpose. So with these 7 and these other 2, we help patients move through their difficulties and help them to better align themselves with the laws of Ola. Some of the things that we do for Lāʻau Lapaʻau, we make vaiki, which is vaiki is basically teas made out of the medicinal plants. We make oil infusions called aila. And then on the right side, the picture, this is Lāʻau hamo, means medicinal salves made out of our medicinal plants. Different classes that we have include Papa Lāʻau Lapaʻau, Hawaiian medicine classes, Mahi Lāʻau Lapaʻau, gardening, traditional plants for medicine. We have classes on laws of Ola Kino, laws of health, and we have Lomi Lomi workshops. This part of Ho'olu'olu Clinic, this is our pain clinic. Ho'olu'olu Clinic is basically designed for the patient to receive traditional health services provided by Lāʻau Lapaʻau, who does Lomi Lomi, myself doing Lāʻau Lapaʻau, and then Dr. Noelani Pereira doing No'ono'opono or Ho'oponopono. Okay, next. There we go. Lāʻau Lapaʻau, Lomi Lomi, and No'ono'opono. So spiritual healing is integrated throughout the session. So as we see one patient and one client, all three of us, Lāʻau Lapaʻau, Lomi Lomi, and No'ono'opono, are there in the room with them. So we hear their moʻolelo, we hear the story, we hear about their pain and their suffering, and then we administer our knowledge, our ike, to the best that we know how at that moment of time. You might ask what No'ono'opono is. No'ono'opono basically means to think properly or to meditate properly. So oftentimes when we perceive our suffering in a particular way, we need help in seeing that we need to adjust the way we think or to restructure the way that we are perceiving our problem. So No'ono'opono helps us to do that. And that is largely directed by Dr. Noelani Pereira, who is a clinical psychologist, and Kanaka Maoli Wahine, Mana Wahine. We take our patients at times out into our pu'uhonua, out into the garden. So when we meet with patients, it's not always inside of a clinical setting. We say, hey, let's go outside. Let's be with the plants. Let's come sit down over here by the garden and let's talk. So the garden is very much a pu'uhonua, a safe place, a place of refuge where we bring the sick and the brokenhearted to heal. By bringing them there, we help them to pale. Pale means to block or to create a barrier. Helping to create barriers helps them to feel more aligned and more prepared to carry on in their daily struggles with what they have. So there's a spiritual pale, a physical pale that we help them to create. Ma'alama is an aspect of caring for the individual. It is helping them mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Yeah, and there's No'ono'opono again, as I explained. This is just a picture. Yeah. Okay. In in our garden, Mala Ho'ola, we have, it's broken down into different areas. There's Mala Opai o Lono, the clearing of Lono, the garden of Lono. Mala o Kapo Po'ai Kukui, the circle of enlightenment. It's a big area where you're all surrounded by kukui trees. Mala o Kipapa Ulu, these are the terrace grow beds that we have there. And we grow plants so that we can do the hanaya plant, so we can give them away. Hanai means to adopt. So we give plants away so that people can adopt them and take care of them. And we also have Malama'aina days where we care for the plants, care for the garden. We invite the community to come. So in the mala, we can do lomi lomis, so we don't have to stay inside of the the clinical setting, we can have lomi lomis outside, or we practice no'ono'opono, practice meditation, proper thinking. It's a place where we can have small classes and gatherings. Mala o kapo'ai kukui, again, is a grove of kukui trees and healing plants, which surrounds an open area, creating a special place to gather. And this is an example of where activities such as lei making is happening. Mala o kipapa'ulu are the large grow beds. We use it for educating, for propagating plants from seed to harvesting, to preparing herbal remedies for our clients and all of our patients. And this is one patient that is involved in Hanaya plant, provides patients and community members healing plants to begin or add to their own medicinal and food gardens. So we want people to create their own medicine so they don't have to rely on us. We want them to be the healers in their own home, healers in their community. So we give the medicinal plants away so they can be the lono puha of their community. Hi, mahalo. That's Waimānalo Health Center.
Thank you. Thank you, cool. It's so funny. Mahalo nui for sharing all of the different things that you guys do at Waimānalo Health Center with the Maiʻuola services. I had a couple of questions, but I think I might skip for sake of time. But I do want to ask you if you had any stories or of experiences that highlight the positive impacts of Lāʻau Lapaʻau on the people that you serve within that community in Waimānalo.
There are a lot of stories. One in particular that I want to highlight is the impact of Lāʻau Lapaʻau and Lomi Lomi and No'ono'opono on our particular client, this Wahine. And I just, without details, she had come to us in 2019, and over and because of her frequent visits to receiving Lomi Lomi and receiving Lāʻau Lapaʻau and No'ono'opono, she changed as a person. She used to smoke 2 packs a day of cigarettes.
Wow.
to almost nothing now. She was a drug user, stopped using drugs, stayed away from drinking. She was religious growing up, so she went back to church. And that's as a result of coming to us and being a part of our Ho'olu'olu Clinic Maiʻuola services. So that's just one individual of many people whose lives have changed as a result of what we've been able to do as traditional practitioners. Hi.
Thank you for sharing that, cool. Do you kind of shifting like a little bit, do you experience any particular challenges to providing this integrated medical care with traditional Native Hawaiian healing practices at Waimānalo Health Center?
I think time is always an obstacle. Time, because sometimes a ho'oponopono session where we're needing to talk things out with a client is limited to just an hour or maybe 45 minutes, when really we need 3 hours with a person. So time is a barrier. I also believe that we don't have enough practitioners in the clinical setting. not having enough practitioners means that we can only see a limited amount of people. So currently, our schedule is booked out maybe 3 months before somebody can actually see us. So
Wow.
so that means we don't have enough staff, and we don't have enough time or hours which we're able to commit to working in the clinical setting, to provide traditional services. But we are providing services to them, which is very important, and we help whoever we can, and we leave the rest to Akua. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those are two kind of big challenges, time and also not enough staff,
Yeah.
not enough healers. But then that kind of goes back to what it is that you are doing at the university for a little bit, because you're instilling those foundations of La'au into the everyday lives of Haumana, and then they can bring it back to their ohana. So I
Mhm.
commend you on that. And kind of speaking for you, but thank you for having us in Halau, because I feel like you are helping not just me, but all the other Haumana that you malama, um, and that you're essentially teaching us for the future. And I'm sure there's a lot more initiatives out there, but I'm glad to be a part of this one.
Right.
Yeah. Um, Maybe another question to ask ask you right now would be, what are your hopes for the future of Lāʻau Lapaʻau and its role in the health and wellness of Native Hawaiian communities?
I think my hope for Lāʻau Lapaʻau is continued education. Education has been an important part of and goal of our ali'i from time immemorial. Just teaching the next generation, teaching, and teaching and education is perhaps the only way to continue things like this practice of Lāʻau Lapaʻau. So, how do we do this education? We do this in the university. We do this in patient education, teaching the patient within the clinical setting, teaching patients that we see outside of the clinic, education and teaching in the community, teaching the student to be the teacher, so that education can continue. And looking for initiatives to be a part of also, and I'm looking for opportunities everywhere to educate. I think also that the practice of Lāʻau Lapaʻau needs resources such as aina, land. So if there's anybody that has influence in providing land to practitioners, please do so, because the aina helps us to grow the la'au that we need and provide a resource. In my mind, I was thinking we should have a whole ahupua'a that is dedicated to just Lāʻau Lapaʻau, from ocean medicine, from the ocean all the way to Mauka, all the way to the top of the mountains. And in that way, cultural practitioners from all over can come to this piece of aina, cultivate it, grow it, teach on it, live on it, and harvest from it, and give back to it in the way that our ancestors did. So the resources of aina is very important. Having more gatherings of Lāʻau Lapaʻau practitioners. So I know Papa Alola Lokahi recently helped to sponsor the recent gathering last year of Lāʻau Lapaʻau practitioners, healers, more like a healer practitioners, but we need more of these events, more of these opportunities to come together, to collaborate, to teach one another, to learn from one another. So bringing all of the like-minded and the best of the Lāʻau Lapaʻau practitioners together is integral for the guidance of and future perpetuation of Lāʻau Lapaʻau. Yeah, so those are the three things that I think: education, aina, and gathering to communicate.
Yeah. Eo.
Eo, yeah.
Eo.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. I don't really have any other questions other than if you would like to share any general remarks or mano that you want to share with everybody.
Live Lāʻau Lapaʻau. Be humble. Ha'a. Have aloha for one another. Forgive often. Let go of your pride. Be humble. Oye valeno.
Oya valeno. Mama. Yes. Mahalo nui kumus. Thank you for everything that you shared with us today. Just kind of want to wrap up everything. I do have one last question, actually. How can those who are interested in Lāʻau Lapaʻau connect with you or learn more about your work? What's the best way?
The best way to connect with me is actually just to email me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll leave my email in email with you, and we can connect that way. So I'm sure like our listeners are going to have various questions about Lāʻau Lapaʻau. So I'm open to just connecting with you and just talking stories and see where it goes from there.
Right on.
Right.
Thank you again, Kumu. All right, folks. That's the closing. We're done for today for our Kupu'ola podcast. Mahalo nui for being here. Mahalo nui for listening. And if you guys have any questions, you can just email Kumu. Okay. All right.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves a republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the Native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. The work of all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Network out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.